Good. Thank you for joining us. So I just got through the introductions of everybody that was on. So if you would like to lead us in an opening prayer, we would greatly appreciate it.
Pastor,
Yeah,
just a second.
right.
Hey, Ruth, before Pastor
Oh.
does that, can you just reintroduce everyone, please?
Oh, okay.
Just for the
So
to get on late.
Okay, so I'm Ruth Mutzen. I'm the U.S. and EPA Community Involvement Coordinator. Dion Novak, who is also with U.S. EPA, he's the Remedial Project Manager for the Alcoa Site. Gina Campuzano is our Tetra Tech contractor. She will be providing technical assistance for us. We have Tom Miller and Charlene Falco. They are the Illinois EPA project managers, and their section manager, Chris Hill. We have Rudy Alanis, the Illinois EPA Community Relations, and his section manager, Brad Frost. We have Chris Presnall, the Illinois EPA Environmental Justice Coordinator. Ron Warowski from Alcoa Inc., and Mike Wagner, the attorney for the City of East St. Louis, and Reverend Rod Little from St. Matthew's Baptist Church. And so at this time, Reverend, if you would like to go ahead and do an opening prayer.
Yes. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we come, God, once again saying thank you, oh God. God, thank you for the day that you have made, oh God. God, we ask and we thank you for those that are on this Zoom call, this meeting call, oh God, those that are getting on, oh God, we ask that we thank you for them as well. God, we ask that you bless this meeting that is about to take place, oh God. God, we ask that you continue to bless those that are on the line, oh God. God, we thank you for what you are doing. God, we thank you for keeping us, keeping our families, even in the midst of this pandemic, oh God, through this coronavirus, oh God. You still have given us avenues, oh God, to meet and, oh God, to do the work, oh God. God, we ask that you will continue to bless. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Little, for your words. Again, just want to remind everyone that we do have your microphones muted until time for the group discussion. If your mic is not muted or your phone is not muted, if you could please do so now at this time so we can avoid any background noises from disrupting the meeting. So as some of you may recall, we had a meeting back in December 2019 to go over an EPA proposed cleanup plan. And during the meeting, US EPA had suggested forming a community advisory group, or a CAG, to help facilitate better communication between the agency and the community about cleanup and decision-making at Alcoa. A lot of people responded enthusiastically to the idea of forming a CAG and exploring available resources to the group. So tonight's meeting is an opportunity to start a conversation about the benefits and the process of forming a CAG in your community. So we're going to start off with viewing EPA's visual presentation about CAGs so that we all have a chance to start the discussion all on the same page. This time, go and play the video.
Hello, my name is Ruth Mutzen, and I'm a Community Involvement Coordinator for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I'd like to welcome you to this virtual public meeting about community advisory groups, also known as CAGs. If you've been to other U.S. EPA public meetings, you can see that we have adjusted our format to help ensure public safety during the ongoing COVID-19 health crisis. We hope that you find this presentation helpful and informative. In this presentation, we will discuss what is a community advisory group, or CAG, the steps for forming a CAG, the roles and responsibilities of CAG members, the roles and responsibilities of U.S. EPA, understanding technical assistance, and where to go for technical assistance. A community advisory group, or CAG, is an informal group that serves as a main point for providing information and perspectives to U.S. EPA, Illinois EPA, and other related agencies about community interests and concerns related to the cleanup of a Superfund alternative approach site. The size of a CAG can vary depending on the community, but they typically include representatives that are impacted by or have an interest in the site investigation and cleanup. A diverse CAG allows members of the local community to participate in decisions about site plans and other environmental issues. Although final site decisions are the responsibility of U.S. EPA, the agency may look to the CAG to gain a better understanding of how certain decisions will affect the community, as well as in helping to communicate site information to those who may be impacted. Forming a CAG can be helpful at communities that lack an existing group or with multiple competing groups that have different views. A CAG can also be helpful in a community with environmental justice concerns. The first step in forming a CAG is deciding who the members will be. This involves identifying the groups or viewpoints that need to be represented and who specifically will serve as representatives on the CAG. Once CAG membership is established, the group will need to create and agree on operating procedures and ground rules. Creating rules of conduct will ensure open communication among members and other attendees. Next, the CAG will need to determine leadership within the group. The CAG can select a chair or co-chairs, or the group can decide to form a leadership council consisting of a few members. After the CAG has established membership, operating procedures, and leadership, your group will begin to meet on a regular basis. CAG members determine the schedule and meeting locations that best suit their needs and interests. All general meetings of the CAG are open to the public and are publicized in advance. This ensures that every member of the community has an opportunity to become involved and express an opinion about the project and its elements. Members of the CAG should include residents or homeowners near the site, anyone potentially affected by site releases, local health professionals, environmental or public interest groups, and local business owners. U.S. EPA, Illinois EPA, the City of East St. Louis, and Alcoa cannot join the CAG. However, the CAG may invite representatives from these organizations to share and exchange information about the site and cleanup decisions. I will now turn the presentation over to Dion Novak to talk more about CAG membership.
Hello, I'm Dion Novak, EPA's Remedial Project Manager for the North Alcoa Site. There are 4 ways a community can determine who to include in the CAG. The first method is to form a screening panel. EPA can help the community organize a short-term screening panel to review nominations for CAG membership. The screening panel should represent the diversity of the community and should have a leader. Potential nominees should be able to demonstrate the ability to communicate to the entire community. The panel will identify a list of recommended CAG members and submit that list to EPA for review and comment only. EPA cannot approve members. The process should be transparent. The second option is that an existing group in your community might be selected as the CAG if that group represents the diverse interests of the community. If the group does not appear representative, EPA can suggest that the group expand their membership to include additional community interests. Third, EPA, in consultation with local government, could select a core group that represents the diverse interests of the community. The application process for the core group could include self-nominations. The members of the core group would then select the remaining members of the CAG in a fair and open manner. Finally, you, the local community members, can identify CAG members that you believe represent the diverse interests in your community. At our December 2019 meeting, you may recall that we asked for interest in serving on a CAG and subsequently received several volunteers via email correspondence.
A CAG member's main responsibilities are to attend and constructively participate in meetings. As a CAG member, you are a representative of your group or community interests. Another responsibility is for the group members to take the information received in a CAG meeting and share it with the broader community. Patience is important when forming and being involved with a CAG. Changes will not happen overnight, but with continued involvement, CAGs can find success. Once the CAG is up and running, members may decide to form small work groups to address particular site issues more closely. U.S. EPA will attend CAG meetings, provide site updates and information, and listen and respond to community concerns identified by members related to the North Alcoa site. The agency may also provide training for the CAG, depending on the group's needs. U.S. EPA will also continue regular communication practices to keep the community informed about plans and decisions throughout the cleanup process.
In some circumstances, a community may need additional support to understand technical information relating to the site and to the cleanup. In these cases, EPA can help facilitate technical assistance to make sure the community has the help it needs to fully understand local environmental issues and participate in decision-making at the site. This is known as a Technical Assistance Plan, or a TAP. A TAP provides a CAG with opportunities to receive services from an independent technical advisor who can help community members better understand the cleanup process at a site by interpreting technical documents and providing insight. This service can better enable group members to share the information with other community members. Technical assistance can include the following. 1. Access to a technical advisor who can read or review, summarize, and clearly explain scientific reports, terms, or studies related to the site. 2. Training on various topics, including technical and scientific concepts, environmental programs, policy and regulations, and environmental issues impacting your community. 3. Facilitation support so that any controversies between CAG or community members can be avoided or resolved. 4. Dispute resolution services to help resolve conflicts among CAG or community members or between EPA and community to ensure all interests are identified and addressed through discussion and mediation among conflicting parties. 5. Other types of support that can help with the operation of a CAG. TAP assistance cannot be used for developing new information such as testing or monitoring, or for reopening or challenging final EPA decisions. It can also not be used for political activities or lobbying, or activities related to lawsuits or other legal issues, including legal fees. TAP assistance is not for the use of group members for travel or independent training or tuition expenses, or group parties or celebrations. EPA had created previously an informational fact sheet which explains technical assistance plans in further detail. This fact sheet can be found online on EPA's North Alcoa webpage.
To review, a CAG is a mechanism that can help your community work with U.S. EPA in making site-related decisions. The CAG should represent the diversity of your community and the various concerns and viewpoints. Also, U.S. EPA can help your community form a CAG and help your group access resources for day-to-day operations. We understand that you may have additional questions about community advisory groups or technical assistance plans. We invite you to join U.S. EPA representatives during an open question and answer session on March 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. A link to the virtual meeting will be posted on www.epa.gov/SUPERTIES. Representatives from Illinois EPA and North Alcoa will also be available. Please contact U.S. EPA if you require special accommodations. Thank you for watching this presentation. If you have any additional questions about CAGs, please contact me at muhtsun.ruth@epa.gov or at 312-886-6595. If you have any technical questions about the North Alcoa site, please contact Dion Novak at novak.dion@epa.gov or at 312-886-4737.
Representatives from Illinois EPA are also available tonight to discuss your questions and concerns. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.
Okay. All right. So before we begin our discussion, I would just like everyone to be mindful of the time when you're speaking. We want to make sure that everyone has a chance to ask a question or make a comment. Also, later during the meeting, Dion will be providing site updates to make sure that there's time for that and time for any questions or comments about the updates that he provides. So we'll start the discussion with people on video. We will, if you are ready, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. After we've gone through folks on video, we'll unmute everyone on the phone and give you guys a chance to make a comment or ask a question. So at this time, does anyone from the community have a question about the video, a question about starting a CAG, or anything else?
Gina, I don't think everyone is unmuted.
Okay, yeah, Gina, I don't know if I'm.
Sorry, they have the ability to unmute themselves.
Oh, okay.
But if anyone is having an issue within Zoom in the chat here, you are able to raise your hand and we can assist that way as well.
So I guess I could start by asking, is a community advisory group something that you all are interested in still? Do you think it would still be a benefit to you as a community?
I think it would be a benefit to our community.
Can you, sorry, Gina, can you take that slide, the ground rule slide down so we can see who's speaking? Sorry.
Or if you're speaking, if you don't mind mentioning your name so we can identify you properly, please.
Yes, please. Yes. If you could give us your name or affiliation.
Sure. My name is Cheryl Hamilton, and I happen to own a property that's near the Alcoa site. I'm a property owner and a realtor in the city, and I think it would be a great thing to have a CAG and to let people know what's going on.
Okay. I agree. EPA agrees. And the thing about a community advisory group, though, is it's a group that's independent of EPA. And it's a self-organized group. So, it can start with just you and maybe some other realtors or other people that have common interests at the Alcoa site, kind of getting together and expanding on those common interests and other people who may have perspectives to provide, and then just kind of building from there. And then that group, once it's formed and established, works with EPA to let us know what the community needs, communication-wise, considerations during, our decision-making. I don't know if anyone else from our virtual panelists would like to add anything to that.
Yeah, Ruth, this is Dion. Thank you, Hamilton, for speaking up. One of the things that we've tried to do at the meetings we've had over the years is to encourage interaction with as many people as we can, just so that people can understand what's happening, happening at the site and any potential impacts on the surrounding area. And this community advisory group, again, one of the things we heard at our December 2019 meeting was we would like some local points of contact that EPA and Illinois EPA could talk to and communicate with, but those points of contact could talk to other people that are interested, that live near the site, that are near the site, that are in the community. And so at the time, there were a number of people that stood up and said, yes, we are interested in doing that. And we're happy to work with whoever would like to organize in order to do that. It helps us get information out to the community a little bit more efficiently and more quickly. Pastor Little was gracious enough to allow us to have our meetings at the church, which is right there, which is great. Thank you for that. He was also gracious enough to allow us to put our information, the reports and the fact sheets and the things that we generate to what's happening at the site, timelines and technical details and whatnot. He was also gracious enough to allow us to place that, we call it a repository, information repository at the church. So again, all the reports that we're putting online in the East St. Louis Library at East St. Louis City Hall are also at the church, St. Matthew's Church, and it allows people, if they want to go and look at them directly, on paper, that's certainly a way to do that. So it's a way to make it easier for us to answer questions and concerns that people have about what's happening. The meetings that we have and that we have had, there's been a lot of questions about, what's happened in the past, what's happening now, what's happening later. And, we do the best that we can at those meetings to address those questions. But a community advisory group, I think, would be a little bit more timely in getting information flow back and forth.
I agree with that.
And we're happy to work with, and again, for folks that have come to the meetings that I've spoke at, I'm happy to talk to whoever needs to ask questions and understand what's happening, because we want you to understand what's happening. It's your neighborhood. And we want, and again, what CAG is doing, what Alcoa is doing, what is doing, and any potential ramifications that might have for you. So we're happy to continue to do that. We will continue to do that. But as Ruth mentioned, the CAG is a great way to set up an intermediary, if you will, so that we get information back and forth quicker.
All right.
Did anyone else, or Ms. Hamilton, did you have a follow-up? Did anyone else have a question? So I guess for those who are on the line, if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, you can go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself if I haven't already unmuted you. And if you could please let us know your name and or affiliation as well.
This is Pastor Little. I want to know, is there a certain meeting time that you all will have, or is that up to the group to set the meeting times?
Okay, yeah, so that would be up to the group, and when and how often to meet, and also where to meet. EPA encourages, of course, that you schedule these meetings with the consideration of the community in mind, making sure that at the time that the majority of people can attend, and locations that are neutral, or but otherwise, yeah, you can meet as often as you like, or if you feel like once a month is enough. It's up to you guys. It's up to the community advisory group.
And Pastor Little, I think we've mentioned that if a group does organize to work with the community and ultimately with us, we're happy to come down and attend meetings to communicate, to give you information, to answer questions directly that people have. There's a number of ways that we can do that. But again, we will continue with our community involvement activities. But again, this augments that, and it gets information to us and back to you all, I think, more quickly.
Okay, thank you.
And then just to clarify, to Dion's point, the CAG is not obligated to invite EPA or East St. Louis or Alcoa. You can keep us out of it if you choose, but we cannot be a part of the CAG, but we can make ourselves available to the CAG, as Dion said, for meetings if there are questions or issues that you would like us to address or take note of.
And there are resources for a community advisory group to hire an advisor that can help you to better understand information, better explain things to the local community. In addition, obviously, to what US EPA and Illinois EPA have done and will continue to do. But that technical advisor can be someone that the group can access to help better understand. The whole intent here is again for folks to better understand what's happening, not only at this site, but ultimately potential impacts for people that are near the site.
All right, does anyone else have a comment or question?
So this is the first meeting that I've ever attended, because I finally got the mail out of the box, and it told me how to get to it, and that's how I came about. So what's going on now? What kind of things are going on now? Can you elaborate on that?
Do you mean what kind of things are going on with the site?
Yes.
Okay, so at this time, we just want to focus on the formation of a CAG and kind of go over those questions. Later in the evening, Deanna is going to go over what is going on at the site, and then if you have any follow-up questions or comments, we'll be happy to hear them.
All right.
Thank you. Does anyone else have questions about a CAG or any comments?
Are there any questions about specifically if you step up to volunteer to be part of this, are there questions that people have about what that means for them, you know, with respect to time commitment or just commitment in general? Are people having, you know, concern or questions about what it means for you? Because if that's the case, please let us know, and we're happy to again explain, you know, a little bit better what that means.
By all means, explain that. This is Cheryl. Explain what it means. If I decided to get involved, what, you know, could I expect?
And also, this Pastor Little, once again, what is the time that you expect that person to put in as that advisory or that leader?
Ruth, do you want to address that first, or do you want me to kind of take a stab at answering?
I can take a stab and then you can fill in my blanks. So as far as what EPA requires of the CAG, that's we don't have specific requirements of how many hours you should put in, or you know, how often you should meet or anything like that. Now, as far as within the CAG responsibility you have to the CAG, I think that would depend on what role you wanted to play in the CAG. Now, if you just want to be somebody who attends the meetings, then that would be the extent of your obligation. But, you know, if you take on a leadership role within the CAG, then you would be the one to kind of, of course, with the advice and counsel of the rest of the group, decide, you know, how much of your time that you're willing to put in and how much of other people's time you're going to ask of them. And again, this is all in relation to what your concerns and needs are at the Alcoa site as well. So if you just have a few concerns, then maybe you don't need to commit the time that a community at another site who may be experiencing more environmental concerns and impacts may want to dedicate to a CAG. And Dion, if you'd like to fill in.
Yeah, sure. I think the best way to answer that would be to say when people come to the meetings that we have, raise their hand and they ask questions, they're looking for information. And we, you know, myself, Tom, Charlene, Chris Hill, we do the best that we can to give you that information so that you understand what's happening at the site. And probably the best way to describe your participation in a community advisory group would be you're going to get that information faster. You're going to be more involved. If you only come to the meetings that we have every so often, then that's the only time that you're getting information. With a community advisory group, you're talking to each other on whatever schedule that you set up as a group, and you're deciding what information that you need to get from us or from the city or whoever you need to get it from. You are deciding, you're setting the agenda for that. And I think the benefit for that is that you're going to get the information that we're giving. You're going to get it faster, and you're going to be able to voice your concerns faster so that you can get your questions answered. And if there's anything that we need to know about, we know about it faster. Just a quick example. A couple of years back, probably 5 or 6 years ago now, there was a massive rainstorm in the East St. Louis area, and there was widespread flooding. And the things that Tom Miller, who's our local Collinsville, Illinois EPA representative, he was able to come over because we found out about it because people told us about it. And he was able to come over to the site and you know, do some innocence for me, and ultimately we're able to, you know, to address the issue as best we could sooner rather than later. And I think the community advisory group can do something similar to that. They can identify things, questions that you have, concerns that you have, rather than waiting. We haven't had a meeting because of COVID, obviously. We haven't had a meeting in the community since December 2019, so about 15 or 16 months ago. The advisory group, could be meeting again, with COVID restrictions, obviously, could be meeting and identifying information needs in the interim. And I think that benefits you as a community to get those issues and questions answered sooner, to raise them to our attention, obviously, to hear what our response is to that, and then communicate that to the rest of the community. It's a much more time-sensitive thing, and I think it benefits everyone. So again, the commitment that you make, as Ruth says, is your own commitment. The group, obviously, there's folks that lead the group, that would be leading the group, that would be, a lot of the organizing. Again, whatever schedule that you set is your schedule to set. And again, we will give information to allow you to set your agenda and to answer the needs of the community.
Okay.
And honestly, you don't have to have a technical background to participate in a community advisory group. There's an advisor that you can employ that does have that background, or you might have people in the group that do have that technical background, but you don't have to have the technical background, to participate. One of the things that we try to do is there's a lot of technical things that are happening, at the site and through the cleanup process, and it's to make sure and help you understand that the best that we can.
So one thing I would like to offer, and we're going to continue the discussion for a little while longer, is whoever is interested in forming a CAG in the community, you can forward your information to me. A lot of folks, I had your email from the sign-in sheet from the 2019 meeting, but if I don't have your information, forward it to me with your name, email, whatever information you want to give, and I can compile a list and I can share that with everyone. And at least that can be the starting point for everyone to know, like, okay, there's a good solid 10, 12 people who are on board or who feel the same way as me. And then from there, you guys can reach out to each other and decide, and the first meeting could just be an informal, and of course we don't encourage in-person gathering, but however you join up to confer with each other, over the phone or through Zoom or something, just kind of get the ball started and see, kind of get a gauge what role you would like to play in the CAG and how often do you think you should meet, what common interests or concerns that you guys have, and kind of build from there, and then maybe start to build something a little more formal, a little bit more consistent. So if that's what you're interested in, I'm happy to do that, to get a list started and introduce everybody to everyone else.
I would be interested in a list. I'll forward you my email address so you can get that to me. We could try to get that started.
Okay, thank you. And for those whose emails that I do have, and you've received emails from me, if you could just confirm that it's okay for me to share your information, because I don't want to give away private information if you're not okay with that. So just send me an email back and just say, I'm okay or I'm not okay with you sharing my information.
This is Pastor Little. I would be interested as well.
Okay, definitely have you on the list. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns about forming or being a part of a CAG, or any kind of the resources that are available to you or to your group that you want to go over?
Well, you did talk about you guys being available if we needed you, that you could come and be a part of the meetings and you could supply us with literature and that type of thing. What other kind of things could you supply? I don't know.
So one of the things that we could provide is, I guess, funding for a technical advisor, and that would be an independent expert that would help the community advisory group understand technical documents that EPA produces. And that is especially important during times when EPA is soliciting public comments on a decision that we're about to make, because we want informed decision, and this technical advisor can help you understand the scientific jargon and lingo and the different options that EPA is weighing. And then also what that does is that helps you communicate issues that EPA may not have thought of when we made our decision, things that our cleanup may have an effect on your community that we didn't consider, and you can let us know, like, if you guys go with this option, it's going to have this effect, and we can weigh that, things. So, you want to jump? Any other benefits that or resources that EPA can provide besides literature and technical assistance?
Oh yeah, much in the same way that we, when we have public meetings and we present information, there's reports that we have, that we approve, that Alcoa is generating to do, the cleanup at the site. We release those reports, and we have meetings where people can ask questions about the information in those reports. So we can certainly do that. Again, we can come, if we're invited to these community group meetings, I can do presentations like I've done before, or the community advisory group can say, we would like you to talk about this part of the site work. Okay, and I could come, and the theme for the meeting could be, whatever the group asks the theme for the meeting to be. So again, there's a lot of information that we, EPA, can release to help the group, with organizational type things and just get started. And then there's technical reports that people, that are being completed, that are guiding cleanup at the site, that we are releasing, that we would like people to understand and ask questions if they don't. And it's an opportunity to answer those questions. The better you understand the information that EPA is releasing, I think the more, hopefully the more comfortable you feel with what's happening at the site and any potential impacts on the surrounding area. So the better information you get, I think the better questions that we get, and the better understanding that we ultimately get.
Okay.
And I'd like to also add too that EPA can help facilitate conversations with agencies or groups or entities that that can address your concerns. So, for instance, in a lot of communities, people are mostly concerned with the health impacts of contamination. So we can provide communication with our federal health people, local health department. So just examples like that of we can provide technical advisors, and we can also facilitate conversations with other groups that can address your concerns.
Yeah, the way things are happening, Ms. Hamilton, is Alcoa, the company in the city of East St. Louis, are what we call responsible parties at the site. Alcoa was the company that operated at the site for many years. He ultimately ended up owning a good portion of the site. So those are the two entities that we're working with. They are participating and doing work for the investigation and the design and then the construction of the cleanup options under federal consent decrees with US EPA. So they are doing work that ultimately US EPA is reviewing, commenting on, and approving with the help of Illinois EPA, both in Springfield, at their Springfield office, as well as the local office in Collinsville. So again, all the work that's being done out there is being financed and funded by Alcoa under the direct oversight of US EPA and Illinois EPA. So, we can talk, in a little bit about what's happening at the site. I can kind of fill you in on what's happened before already. There's been an investigation at the site that was conducted over a number of years. And the first part of the cleanup, the first phase of the cleanup, was completed from 2014 to 2016, so about 5 years ago. And that part of the site, the old canyons that used to be there, were leveled out and covered with clean dirt and then vegetated with grass. And so the middle part of the site, is basically a green dump. And so that's the first part of the cleanup that, again, Alcoa and the city and Alton and Southern Railroad financed and completed under EPA and Illinois EPA oversight. We just released in December of 2019 a proposal for the second part of the cleanup, which is the outer edges of the site along Louisiana, along 29th Street, along Missouri Avenue. And US EPA released a remedy decision document back in June of last year that Alcoa and the city are going to be designing that remedy, which is the same remedy as was done in the first phase of the cleanup. So they'll be designing that and then ultimately building that remedy as part of, under, again, federal consent decree with US EPA. So it's happened already. So we've got a good, about 200 acres worth of the site was subject to that construction, that remedial action. And now we're dealing with the second part, which is the outer edges. So that's kind of where we've come from.
Okay. Well, so if no one else has any questions about about a CAG, I guess we can transition into the rest of Dion's site updates. Are there any other questions from anyone online or on the phone? Okay. All right, Dion, if you want to go ahead and go to the site updates, and we will mute everyone's lines again while he's doing that, just so that there's no background interference. And once he's done, we'll go ahead and unmute everyone's lines so you can ask questions or comments.
Sure. Thank you, Ruth. Where we are, I just kind of gave you a brief overview of where we have come from. Where we are right now is, again, US EPA released a decision, remedial decision, a cleanup decision back in June of last year. And we are currently in negotiations with Alcoa and the City of East St. Louis to design and then to build that remedy from that June of 2020 remedy decision document. So that's where we are. I anticipate at the end of April, there'll be some additional sampling, additional testing done in the backyards of a number of the properties that are located on the north side of the site, the south side of Louisiana. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us additional information. We know that based on the previous sampling, we know that there is waste in some of those yards, waste from Alcoa's operations. And what this additional sampling will allow Alcoa and the city to show to US EPA and Illinois EPA is to give a better snapshot of exactly where that waste is, both in a lateral direction from side to side, excuse me, and as well as in a vertical direction, top to bottom. And what that's going to do is that information is going to feed into the engineering design of the overall second part of the cleanup. We call it an operable unit, the second phase of the cleanup. And the folks that to whose properties require some additional testing, Alcoa has approached to get agreements, access agreements, to allow them to do that work. And we have access agreements for most of those properties. So the work will happen in, like I said, probably mid to late April is what I understand the schedule is right now. And that information, like I said, will feed into a report which summarizes obviously what they find, and then as well as feed into the additional engineering design documents. Then the design for the remedy, and again, the reason it's an engineering design is much as for the same reason that I said back in December of 2019, we want the remedy to provide the protection that it needs to provide to protect folks that live near the site. But we also want to make sure that it lasts into the future. And that's a perfect example of that is the first phase of the cleanup, where again, the construction for that was completed about 5 years ago. And you can see that an Alcoa is required to operate and maintain that. So they have to cut the grass, they have to fix any erosion issues, which we have regular inspections out there where we look at that to see if there's anything like that that needs to be done. So not only do they build it, but they also have to maintain it so that it provides protection well into the future. So that's the reason for the engineering design documents, because we want it to, as I said, both be protective and long lasting. And I anticipate that in sometime next spring in 2022 will be when the actual work begins. So we'll complete the design, the engineering design, the rest of this year, 2021, and then the actual construction will happen in 2022. And that'll obviously require, again, permission from the people whose properties that this is impacting. Alcoa is required to get permission in order to do that work. And at that time, they will provide, I will, US EPA and Illinois EPA will help explain, people have questions about, okay, they want to come onto my property and dig, a big hole. What does that mean? And we will continue to provide that information so that people understand what that means. And really what it means is Alcoa is going to be digging up the waste. They're going to be bringing it back to the middle of the site, which is where they put the waste before, and covering it up again with dirt. And then they're going to take the holes that they dig on the various properties and they're going to fill those with clean dirt and then vegetate those. So the end result is after they're completed, it's going to look the same or better than it looks now. So that's what the construction process entails. And again, we're looking to start that next year, probably sometime in the spring. And if we get a good start and we get good weather, then I'm hoping that it'll be completed by the end of calendar year 2022. And then Alcoa will be responsible for maintaining that part of the remedy as well. So that's kind of a quick update on where we are. So you'll see some sampling crews out there again in April. And then you won't see anything for a while, and that's the engineering design part of it. But then come next spring, you'll see the heavy equipment out there again, like you did if you saw any of this happening back in the 2014 to 2016 timeframe. It'll be similar to that. Obviously, it's a smaller amount of area, but it's the same type of a process. So that's kind of from a site standpoint, that's kind of where we are right now, where we came from, where we're going. And before we turn it over for any questions, I wanted to say that with sadness for me personally, Tom Miller, who has been the Collinsville, Illinois EPA site representative for many, many, many years. He actually predates me on this site. I've been involved in the site for about 20 years. And Tom actually predates me, and he's been an awesome help in not only communicating information with the community, talking to people because he's only 15 minutes away about specific things, going out when I need to have somebody, bringing eyes and ears to the, to the problem at the site when there's been issues with flooding, when there's been issues with, getting information to people, when people have had questions. Tom has been fantastic and a huge asset to not only Illinois EPA, but also US EPA. Given all of that, Tom is retiring at the end of the month. And so that's a huge loss for the project, for the community. And I just wanted to pay proper homage to him. He will be sorely missed. In his absence, Charlene Falco, who's on the line tonight, is the Illinois EPA representative from Springfield. She will be helping with local communications. Obviously myself, people have, you can always call me and talk to me. I know people have done that over the years and can continue to do that. Mike Wagner, who is an attorney representing the city of East St. Louis on this project, is in Belleville. So he's a little bit further away than Tom, but Mike has also been in the community a lot with Tom a lot of the time, but Mike has been in the community and done a great job of communicating information back and forth. So again, I wanted to give Tom an opportunity, and you don't have to say anything, Tom, if you don't want to, but I'm going to miss Tom. He's a great guy. He's been a great friend and a great asset to the project. Tom, do you want to add anything, or I don't want to put you on the spot?
Yeah, this is Tom Miller with the Illinois EPA. Yeah, it's been a good project. I've enjoyed working with the community and with all the various agency folks over the years, and it's been a good run. Appreciate it.
So if people have, and again, Mike, you can say a few words if you like. People have called Tom directly a lot of the time because, again, of his willingness to work with people and answer questions. Again, won't be able to do that, unfortunately, but again, my name and number, you have my name and number. Charlene, you have Charlene's name and number on the, on the website. And then Mike also is local too. And Mike's been working with East St. Louis for many years. So, any of us will attempt to fill the big shoe, Tom's big shoes here. Mike, do you want to add any words if you want?
I just wanted to reflect. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to reflect what you said, Deanna. Tom has been a valuable member of our team. And not only has he been a valuable member of the team for this particular project, but throughout his career, Tom has been an advocate for the citizens of East St. Louis on all the projects he's touched. I've been privileged enough to work with Tom for the last 20 years on all kinds of different projects throughout the city. And he will be missed greatly. So I appreciate the words that you had to say, and we'll miss him and we wish him well. And as you said, we have big shoes to fill, but we will do our best to make sure we continue on with that wonderful communication process and advocacy for the citizens that Tom had.
Thank you, Mike. And again, when Tom's name may be and number may be at the top of your Rolodex. Again, Mike or myself or Charlene are again, we're always willing to respond and answer questions. Charlene's only a couple hours away. If she needs to come down, she's willing to do that. I don't know, Charlene, if you want to kind of introduce yourself to folks briefly, just to kind of reiterate that.
Say that again.
Oh, that was for Charlene. Sorry. No.
Oh, sorry.
She may be having muting. So again, I guess I'll speak on her behalf. She and I spoke this earlier today. And again, it's Illinois EPA is a big partner in this project and in this community. And we'll do the best that we can to get information as quickly as we can. It won't be as quick because, like I said, Tom's only 10 minutes away, but we will call and respond as quickly as we can.
Did anyone else from the Illinois EPA team want to make a statement to the community or to Tom?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Oh, hi, Charlie. Yes,
hey, finally. Sorry, I guess I'm a little technologically challenged, but I'm not time challenged. I'm less than 2 hours away, as Deanne said, just about an hour, hour 15 or whatever. So, feel free to call. I'm looking forward to working on the project. Been involved in a couple of CAGs, and I think they're really beneficial to the community. So, I'd really encourage anybody who's interested to get some other like-minded folks together. And it's a really great way to exchange information. And I think it helps the community understand what the government's trying to accomplish, and it certainly keeps the government in touch with what's priority for the community. And it's a great thing. So I don't know if there's any way I will ever fill Tom's shoes, of course. I probably am not going to even be able to try very much, but I'm certainly going to help out where I can. And I expect to be around quite a bit during the next phase of work, the upcoming work happening in April. So I'll probably see you folks around. Thanks.
Thank you, Charlene. I will also offer that during the first part of the cleanup, again, the 2014 to 2016, Tom was working, was doing oversight of that work for me. And so he was on site a lot. And in Tom's absence for the second part of this cleanup, I will be hiring a contractor that will be doing that oversight for me. So again, the work that's happening will have eyes and ears. I'll be down there. I love watching Remedy construction, so I will be down there as often as I can be. But I will also have eyes and ears there when I'm not there. And then Charlene has expressed an interest in doing that as well. So you'll see a lot of us during the construction, and that's really important because we want to make sure that the construction of this remedy impacts you as little as possible, if not at all. And so there's going to be a lot of communication necessary. Alcoa will hire a contractor that will be directing the work, and then ultimately will be overseen by US EPA and Illinois EPA. So there'll be a lot of people down there. There'll be a lot of activity at the site. And it's important that you all know what's happening, when it's happening, and understand that we want to make sure that this impacts people as little as possible, so that at the end of the day, we can provide the protection that's required from the waste at the site. So again, there will be a lot of eyes down there, lots of different ways to contact us with any questions. The community group would be a perfect opportunity, again, to get that information right away, you know, so when it's happening, so we can address whatever we need to address quickly. So even though I'm not on site, I'm always available. So if something happens, they can call me, and then, you know, we can make whatever decisions need to be made. So there's a great team of people that are working to provide this cleanup as quickly and as safely as possible. And even though Tom is a huge part of that, we will carry on in his absence and continue to do that.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So would anyone from the community like to ask any questions or make any comments right now about the site updates that Dion just provided, or any questions about you know, personnel changes, or if you have questions about the CAG, we can go back to that topic as well. And those of you on the phone as well, if you have a question or comment, please feel free to speak up.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is Cheryl. My home is located on the, is the cleanup going that far? Because I hadn't heard anything about contacting me about checking the ground or anything.
Where the church is, the properties that are impacted start a couple of houses to the east of there.
Okay.
So we don't have any evidence to show that the waste from the site is over in that area. I'm assuming you're on which corner, which side of the corner are you on? Yeah, no, we don't have any. We have Alcoa has done a lot of investigatory work, and we don't see any waste from the site over in the area. The site itself, for folks that may not know the history, this was an old lake, Pittsburgh Lake, that was filled in with waste over a number of years. And so, and then, you know, along the northern part of the site, fill was brought in, and that's where those residents, they're sitting on top of that old Pittsburgh Lake. Ms. Hamilton, we don't have any evidence, any information that the waste extends to where you are.
Okay. Is that just because they didn't check, or what?
No, we've done quite a bit of work. There's a couple of large reports that are in the church. They're also available on the Alcoa website, called a remedial investigation report. It's got a lot of information in there, but it shows all of the work that Alcoa has done under EPA and Illinois EPA direction, of soil borings, lots of groundwater work, lots of you know, soil testing, things like that. And you can see there's figures in there that show all of the sampling locations and what we found at those sampling locations. So it's not as if we didn't test, we just found the waste where it is.
Okay.
But again, if you're not, Ms. Hamilton, if you are not on our mailing list, when you send your information to Ruth, let her know that you'd like to be added to the mailing list, and then you'll get all that we send out directly.
Okay, we'll do.
Ms. Hamilton, this is Tom Miller with the Illinois EPA. Did you basically receive notice about the meeting from the door hanger that we placed out there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah, we went around last week and distributed about 100 flyers in that area, and then another about a dozen flyers to residents that were on our mailing list within the city. Pastor Little, were you able to retrieve the flyers that I sent with you that I put on the door? You may not be.
Yes, I was able to receive those. I got those. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay.
And I also want to say, I guess I can say to, sorry, Tom, also to Miss Hamilton, to Sister Hamilton, you can also come by the church. If I'm there, you can look at these books that they have there. I do have a section in the church that is set up for that. So you can come by anytime you want and look at those books.
Okay, Pastor Little, will do.
And the best part about that, I mean, obviously you can read those wherever you read them, and whatever questions you have, obviously let me know. And I'm happy to answer those questions. Community advisory group, you can talk about those things as part of the group. And then if you're a technical advisor, they can give you their technical opinion about things that you're reading, which again, all it does is it increases the amount of understanding that people have. These are pretty complex documents with lots of information, lots of samples, lots of technical information, lots of contaminant information. So we want to make sure that people understand what they say. And so the community advisory group, technical advisor can help with that, because at the end of the day, the more you understand, the better.
Yeah, and this is Tom Miller. Another thing you can do is, let the group know and US EPA know best ways of us getting information, because we've had a lot of these community meetings within different phases of the work, and we've always kind of struggled with how to best get the information out. And we've been trying all kinds of ways to get it out, but by the community telling us the easiest way to get the information to them, that helps as well. So that's another thing you can talk about in the community advisory group meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, EPA put out a fact sheet a couple of years ago, which is available on the website and also at the church and at the library and at City Hall. Frequently asked questions about the site. We heard a lot of similar questions at the meetings that we had. And so we put out a fact sheet that provided answers to those questions, just so people could have that as a resource. So again, it's the more information you want, the more you can get. Advisor group is a good way to kind of bridge the gap.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, who is that, please?
It's under Karen Smith, and my name is Tyrone Smith. I own the house and I have a basement, but it constantly has water. It's clear water. I don't know, I've burned up so many pumps, and it's continual. Sometime it'll run for 2 or 3 months pumping water. And I have, so I've tried to resolve that issue, but I've not been able to really resolve it. So every year at a certain time when we have rainfall for a while, then, that's when the pump starts. And it sometimes I've seen it run day and night, for weeks. And I was just wondering, is it any way that I could find out? I don't know if it's artesian well or something that's feeding into it, because the water is clear enough for you to be able to drink it, but it's so much of it.
That's a good question, Mr. Smith. That is a question that we have heard a lot over the years. The whole area, East St. Louis area, is in a floodplain for the Mississippi River. So naturally the water, when the Mississippi River floods, obviously it floods into the floodplain, which is the area around the river. There are issues with the sewer infrastructure in East St. Louis that we've been made very aware of many, many times. And just the neighborhood there, unfortunately, is in a low spot, and water goes from the high spot to the low spot. So that's a city infrastructure type issue. Mike Wagner, I don't know if you want to if you want to say anything in regards to that, but this is a concern that we've heard a lot. What we're doing is the water that falls on the site, we're doing the best that we can to keep it on the site, but the water going through the sewers along the streets there, 29th Street, Louisiana, et cetera, that's a city sewer issue. Mike, do you want to say anything about that?
I don't have much beyond that to add. You know, my responsibility here is to make sure that the site is behaving as it should. And the site has been designed to actually retain water. The flooding issues in this particular area should be better than they were before, because in the past, the site was not designed to hold water on the site. It was designed to shed water to the surrounding sewers, and that has been remedied. So any issue that's existing as far as water in basements or backing up or anything of that nature is a sewer issue. And sir, if you need me to help you get in touch with the city sewer department or with the city manager, I can do so. But the sewer issues that are happening in and around the area are a separate issue from what's going on at the site. And unfortunately, there isn't much more that this team can do to help those issues beyond what we've already done.
So again, Mr. Smith, thank you, Mike. So Mr. Smith, if you want to contact Mike Wagner, you can send me an email and I can hook you with Mike so that you can make that connection, you know, inside of the city, Public Works or the city manager or whoever. We're happy to do that. And actually that's what we have done for other people that have similar issues. We'll hook you up with people that have a better chance of answering those questions than we can. So if you're willing to do that, again, there we can hook you up with Mike so he can hook you up with the folks in the city. Thank you, Mike. So whatever way you would like us to do that.
All right, does anyone else?
Please let us know. Sorry, Ruth.
That's okay. Does anyone else have any other comments or follow-up or questions? Anyone from the Alcoa team, Illinois EPA, or anyone else have any comments? Pastor Little, did you want to make any statements or ask any questions or anything to the group tonight, this evening?
No, I just want to say that I want to say, first of all, it was good meeting Tom, and I want to say well wishes on your retirement. Also, I was able to tour the Alcoa site with them, so there's a lot of things that I have seen done that has gotten done from them. So with that, I can't see who was all on through the neighborhood, but if they want to come and look at the books, look at anything that they need, just contact me, and you can get in contact with me or see my card at the church. You can come on in and I'll let you in, and you can go to the room where the books are.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Pastor, like I said, I would definitely get in touch with you so I can take a look for myself.
Yeah, so Ms. Hamilton, again, if you have any questions when you're looking through that information, my name and number are on the website. Feel free to call, email, whatever's easiest for you. I want to make sure you understand whatever you need to understand.
Will do.
Thank you.
Charlene, were you trying to say something, or I saw your name popping up on the screen?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, well, you know, this is definitely not or we hope this is not the last conversation between EPA and the community about starting a community advisory group. Just a couple of takeaways that I would like to give the group tonight is just to remember that a CAG is an independent, self-organized group. EPA does not establish membership. We don't select leadership, and we don't control how the CAG operates. Our role is to assist your group with activities as they're related to the Alcoa site. Second, to keep in mind that all final decisions about the site are EPA's responsibilities, but the CAG rep can provide representation, and it can provide informed participation from the community in EPA's decision-making process. We also believe that a CAG could help with the long-term preservation and or redevelopment of the site after the cleanup. So it's not just when EPA is doing sampling or constructing remedies that we want the CAG's input. We want your input after we've completed the cleanup, and also, you know, if it's feasible for redevelopment at the sites. And then also to just remember that a CAG is intended to enhance community involvement at the Alcoa site. US EPA is still obligated to continue our communication practices through our various outreach methods to the entire community. So that includes fact sheets, public meetings. Again, the CAG is just to help us communicate as often and how the community wants to be communicated. So those are my final remarks. Dion, would you like to give any final remarks to the group tonight?
Yeah, thank you for, this is the first one of these virtual public meetings that I've ever done. So hopefully we will continue to communicate in the ways that we've done before. If this is part of our toolbox, then certainly we will do this. But again, I want to make sure that people know that you have a voice in what's happening, and ultimately get your questions and concerns addressed to the extent you need to have them addressed. So if you don't like an answer you're getting, please ask the question again and say, I don't like the answer you're giving me, and you know, I'll do the best that I can to address, you know, whatever concerns that you have. So look forward to continuing this process. I'm excited about the progress that we've made so far. Unfortunately, it takes a long time. And part of that is because the Superfund law is a very complex law that requires a lot of checkpoints to make sure that we're providing protection from the contamination as well as long-lasting solution. So a lot of the reason for that is because we have to prepare and do, and when you go to the church or you online, you'll see that these reports have a lot of information in them. And the reason for that, again, is we want to provide long-lasting protection from things, you know, from sites like this, so that you're comfortable with what's happening and you're comfortable that you're not being adversely impacted by what's happening. So continue this process going. My email, voicemail is always open. So please let me know if you have any thoughts or questions or concerns. And the final thing that I'd like to say before I turn it over to Illinois EPA is, again, Tom Miller has been an awesome part of this team for many, many years. He's a great friend. He's a great guy. I'm going to personally, the team is going to miss him a whole bunch. A lot of positive things that have happened for us in the community have been because of him and because of his efforts. So thank you, Tom. Again, best of luck to you in your retirement. Tom's a big photography guy, so he's now going to have a whole bunch more time to take pictures of things. So again, best of luck to you, best of health, and you know, best wishes to you, Tom. So, Charmaine or Tom, do you want to say anything, or anybody else from Illinois EPA? Okay. Hopefully Tom's not. Hopefully Tom's not his towel there. Mike, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, just thank you to Ruth for putting this together. I was skeptical as to how effective we could do this with this many people remotely, but it worked out well. So thank you. Not that I doubted you, Ruth. I just doubted, you know, technology in general. So.
No, I doubted me and I doubted technology. I truly appreciate everyone's patience tonight. This is also one of the first virtual public meetings that I've conducted. So thank you for being kind and for being patient. And also, I just want to reiterate from our discussion previously that if you are interested in starting a CAG and you want to get to know who else is interested, please forward me whatever contact information you're comfortable sharing. You know, again, that could be phone number, email address. I will compile that and I'll start an email group so that you guys can can kind of get an idea of who's interested and kind of start from there on who to invite to your, I guess, first informal meeting for the CAG. So this meeting is scheduled until 8 p.m. I will make myself available. Hopefully Dion will stay online as well. For anyone else who needs to go, please feel free to disconnect. Thank you again for joining us. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. Thank you and good night, everyone.
And Pastor Little, again, before you sign off, is there anything addition that you want to offer to what you've already said? You may have signed off already. Again, so we'll stick around. We'll stick around if anybody wants to talk, has any additional questions.
Hey, Chris Presnell, do you want to introduce yourself and what your role is with the agency?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name's Chris Presnell. I'm up here in Springfield along with Charlene. I'm the Illinois EPA's Environmental Justice Officer or Coordinator. And so environmental justice, a lot of what we do involves enhanced community outreach and really any issues that might arise. So not just here with what we're talking about with Alcoa, but it could be, air type issues. I know that the Veolia incinerator down there, for instance, in Sauget is a big issue. Could be water issues. We're doing work sort of not too far away in Centerville. Sorry, I don't know why I got Centralia on the mind. In Centerville. So really, if you have any questions about anything there in East St. Louis, and especially, but also, I mean, I can also help facilitate here with Alcoa, but really anything else that might concern you, or you want help, you have questions, you want more information about, anything like that, I would encourage you to reach out to me, reach out to my office. You can find my information online at the Illinois EPA, but if you just search Illinois EPA Environmental Justice, you can reach out to me. My number is 217-524-1284. So I would encourage you to reach out. There's again, if you have any concerns about anything, that's why I'm here. So I'm concerned about this and wanted to get in sort of on the ground floor, and have been in some meetings on this earlier, but really the whole wide reaching area down there, East St. Louis in particular, but the whole area, we've been doing work in and around.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. We'll also put your name, the contact information on the Alcoa website if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. Anything that we can do to get the word out so folks can reach out to me.
Yes, we'll put your name and your contact information and your title, just so folks know that if they have, site-related issues, questions, or other area-related questions, you're willing to help address those and answer those. So thank you for that.
Yeah, because that's real. I mean, I think I kind of already said that, but maybe didn't put a fine point on it. What I try to do is be a liaison really for the agency. So whatever the issue may be, I take it in, try to figure out, okay, if I can't answer the question, who within the agency, whether it's the Bureau of Water, Bureau of Land, Bureau of Air, what's the issue? Who can we get the information to? What's going on? That's really what I'm here for.
Thank you, Chris. Brad or Rudy, do you want to offer anything from your perspective to what Chris just said? If you're still on the line.
I was double muted. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Rodolfo Alanis. Everyone calls me Rudy. I'm a community relations coordinator within the EPA. I'm actually up in Chicago, and I'm also the Spanish translator. So if Spanish translation is needed, I can definitely assist with that. And I'm always willing and open to answer any questions or find information for the public and relay that information back to them. Yeah, no problem.
So we still got a few folks. Charlene, do you want to add any final thoughts from your end?
No, I can't think of any final thoughts at the moment. I think it's really great that we got some people tonight that are interested in moving forward with a CAG. You know, you were talking before about, you know, maybe bringing people in to help explain some technical issues. You know, we've sometimes brought people from the agency to CAG meetings to do just that for folks. And, you know, there's grants available, and you guys have another program, a technical assistance program, which has worked out really well at some other sites. So just encourage people to keep exploring all the possibilities, and anything we can do to help increase understanding, that's what we'll try to do. That's it.
Great, thank you, Charlene. Again, I'm happy to, Ruth and I are happy to answer any other questions that people have, whether they're site related, whether they're CAG related. It's raining up here in Chicago, 60 degrees today.
I think someone was trying to interject the question. I thought I heard my name. Okay. Well, if anybody else does have any questions or comments, like I said, we are available for another 19 minutes.
Well, I thought it was real informative, and I'm going to get off of here now. I appreciate all the information, and hopefully we'll be able to get together and see about forming a small CAG to see what's going on.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Hamilton, for joining us. And I'm glad to get your feedback that this was informative. If you come up with any other questions or comments, please feel free to email me or Dion.
Will do.
And
thank you. Good night.
If the information that we can provide will help you figure out what you want to do there locally, that's a good thing. So we're happy to do that.
Yeah, Ms. Hamilton, this is Tom Miller. There's also a repository online at the US EPA website. There's an Alcoa section, and there's a lot of all the documents that have been generated throughout the time we've been working out there or on that website as well.
Okay.
You may want to also look.
I will. I'll do what I can to see what's going on. It was hard just finding this meeting tonight on the EPA website. But at first when you gave us the email address, I typed it in and it said it didn't exist anymore. And so I cut it down. I put the Alcoa, and then I tried to hit the site, and then from there I was able to find that there was going to be a meeting and tap on the link. But,
okay, good.
I'm sorry about the difficulty, the extra steps that you had to take.
Yeah, because the long address, it didn't want to take that at all.
Yeah, okay. I would, double check what's going on with that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah, so hopefully
so was that? Go ahead.
I was just saying, hopefully maybe next time we'll maybe get more people, because they probably got this, a little discouraged in trying to get on,
Okay, no, that's a very good point. And we can definitely schedule something again in a month or two if that's the case. It's just because it takes a little time to plan these things and announce them. But yeah, we can definitely do this again.
Okay, all right. That'll be great. But I'm going to say good evening to you people, and you'll definitely be getting an email from me.
Great. Good evening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Great. So also for those of you who are on the phone, again, if you have any comments or questions, you want to continue the discussion, we do have this line open till 8. If you don't, please feel free to hang up and go on with your evening.